Welcome to the second of our On the Road series. In this series, we caught up with a number of guests and speakers at our Fusion Live event in Montreal. This was a really exciting event to explore everything that's going on in Canada across the market. Stay tuned. We've got a few episodes coming up. So I'm joined by Julien Harazi, who is the head of marketing for Keyloop. Welcome to our little podcast on the road, Julien.
Hi Jackie, thank you for having me.
I should say ça va.
Oui, ça va très bien et toi?
Très bien aussi. Alors, we are now in Montreal.
Yeah, in Quebec, right?
Really beautiful place, great part of Canada. And we're here for the Fusion Live launch, Fusion Live 25. Keyloop have a big sort of product portfolio and we're rolling out a whole bunch of new products in this market and a number of markets. And today is all about bringing customers and guests together just to see what we're bringing into this country. Julien, you are hosting our panel, which is normally my job, but it's in French. So you're doing this in a brilliant way. So talk about what you're expecting from the panel.
Well, in the panel, we'll have a bunch of different people from the industry, OEMs, partners, providers. So the idea is to share the different insights they may have related to the revolution we are seeing in our industry. So it's very exciting. Yeah.
And you're new to automotive, but not new to tech. So what are you kind of learning as you kind of venture now into automotive tech?
Well, I think what's exciting is that, you know, every minute in Canada, 850 gigabytes of data is being created, really. So you see that we are now in a tech space when you talk about the automotive industry. So it's this transition that is very exciting. Yeah. So how can you do it with it? How can we leverage it to better improve your relationship with your customers, to improve retention, to increase your earnings, and it's everything you can do with data that is very exciting, I think.
Yeah, data's at the heart of this, and we've actually got a keynote with ThoughtSpot today, who've recently appeared on the podcast anyway. But they're looking at how do you then interrogate that data and understand the story it's telling you. I think a lot of people feel a bit overwhelmed by data, and what we're trying to do is just help you understand how you can leverage technology to drive that efficiency, make your business more profitable, and just operate, as you said, with create better loyalty and retention through your customer life cycle, which is great. So, Julien, listen, thank you so much. I'll come back and catch up with you later, hopefully, and we'll see. We've got a couple of panelists joining us. The panel is in French today. They're joining us to do an English version that we can then release on the podcast to the rest of Canada and talk about the challenges and the excitement that they're kind of, looking forward to. So,
thank you, Jackie.
Have a great day.
You too. Thanks.
Bonne chance.
Merci.
I'm here in Montreal with Sebastiaan, who is the VP of Sales for Keyloop across the Americas. We're launching Fusion Live in Canada today at Montreal, and we've got a whole day of events planned and different demos. Seb, you're sort of leading your MC. Well, you're doing a lot today, aren't you? You're on the stage doing some stuff. Talk about what's going on.
I'll kick off the event and welcome everybody. We have Marty Levac that's going to be the MC today, and then I'll welcome everyone, and then we'll pass it on to Tim and Adrian to do their bit about Fusion Live. But we are very excited to have this event. It looks fantastic. The team's done a really good job. Yeah. So I'm quite pumped to get started here.
So Canada is like one of our wave one markets, and it's really ripe for disruption here now, isn't it? I think we're seeing a lot of retailers and OEMs really keen to start to adopt technology in a way that we haven't sort of really seen them before. And actually talk about that, because I know the market here is desperate for some cool new things.
Yeah, we've got a phenomenal legacy suite of products here and a really good customer base, but they have been asking for some enhancement and development on some of these products for a long time. And we're really excited that we're not just meeting that demand now, but we're exceeding it with Fusion. We've really gone kind of above and beyond. And the neat thing is that it's now tested in the field with customers. We've had customers line up to actually purchase Fusion from us. We've got over 65 dealers already signed up, which is more than double than I expected. So that's really exciting.
So actually the plan is get early adopters to kind of work with it, test it, and then we build on from that experience. So we wanted to make sure that we had those development partners that were really helping us make sure that what we bring to this market is right for this market.
Yeah, and it's really a testament to the collaboration between the product and engineering teams as well as sales, and then bringing in customers early in this process to work with them and fine tune the system so that when we actually launch it, it's ready to go and delivering what customers are really looking for.
Yeah, so it's great. I think we've seen, this is the second of our Fusion Live events now. First one was in London earlier in the year, and then we go from here to Dubai in a couple of weeks. So there is like the Fusion World Tour happening, which is brilliant. But the market here is it's a great place to be, because you can just see transformation happening in front of you, which is great to be a part of. So what are you looking forward to most today?
The interacting with customers later on. The bit on stage will be fun, and I think customers will get a lot out of that. But it's really about coming together after and discussing it. And we've got the station set up for the customers to go through and properly experience what we're really talking about. And then I'm looking forward to picking their brain after and seeing what they think.
Yeah. That's always good to get. Like immediate feedback, I think is so valuable. And people we saw this in London. People saw it and they were like, "Oh, actually, we need this." So this is great. So yeah, listen, have a great event. I know it's the first that we've done. We're doing it in two languages. We're doing French and English. So we've got keynotes in English, panel in French. You're doing some English, Marty's doing French. So we're kind of really making sure we adapt to the people that are we're in Quebec, so it's French speaking, and we're bringing it sort of live to this audience, so it's going to be a great day.
It will be.
Thanks for speaking to me, Seb.
Thanks for having me.
We're joined now by Joris Fougerat from Kia Canada. Joris is joining the panel today and has very kindly agreed to have a little chat with me as well. So welcome to the podcast on the road, Joris.
First of all, thank you for having me, Jackie. Always a pleasure to meet the Keyloop team.
Oh, thanks. So my job here is just to kind of take the podcast and bring out some of the conversation that's taking place on the stage at the event today. The panel's in French, so you're very kindly joining us because it's a French-speaking country and we're in that part of Canada. You're based normally in Toronto, so actually, if you could just talk about the work that you do at Kia Canada, and then we can get it.
Yeah, for sure. Like English and French is definitely not a problem. From the accent, you may know, I was born and raised in France. I moved to Canada about 15 years ago. So this is also the reality about Canada and Toronto and Montreal. Yeah. So I've been with Kia for now almost 6 years.
Right.
I've been responsible for the implementation of the digitization for after sales, and now I'm in charge of the after sales department as a national manager after sales. Before that, I've worked across a few other OEMs, Hyundai Canada, Audi Canada, and then Volkswagen North American region.
So you've got so much experience working with different OEMs. I think what's always interesting as well, Joris, is that different OEMs have a different life stage depending on product they're bringing to market, maturity of their network, and innovation that's kind of... So you moved to Kia, you said about 6 years ago. What was it that kind of excited you to go and move to that brand?
Kia has only been in Canada for 26 years. And when you compare to other OEs like Audi, Volkswagen, we've been there for decades. Kia for sure, is in a different stage of life as an automotive maker. But not only that, is they wanted to enhance and develop their approach to the business. And you kind of also see it with all of the vehicles that Kia was able to bring in Canada across, last few years, from the Seltos, Sportage, so many cars that also reflect the brand and the development of the brand in Canada and in North America.
Yeah. So we're bringing obviously new products. You have a whole family of new product coming, and we don't want to get too much into that, but it's like we've seen now explosion of EV. Different consumers are now really taking that product seriously, and we're seeing some great sort of models coming to market. What are you going to be talking about on the panel today? What are the big topics that you're covering?
I think today there will be a lot of conversation around technology, global ecosystems, integration of data, communication using CRMs, DMS partners and vendors like Keyloop. I think today when we talk about the automotive industry, it's not just a product, it's a service. The service today is around being able to provide to the customer all these touches and interaction points where we do see value. It's not about pushing all the information or even working with the customers and the dealers. It's to make sure that all together we have one environment, one ecosystems, and it's at the end really smooth for the customer and for the overall customer journey.
Yeah. So your role at Kia is after sales, and actually we see this as a real opportunity to develop that kind of brilliant experience for consumers, because you build your loyalty with the brand when you're using the brand, not when you're selling. Or don't just sell me one thing and then ignore me forever. Really love me when you have me, and I'll stay with you for many, many model changes. And I think that's the important thing is how do you drive efficiency in the after-sales space and a great customer experience that you can connect? And you talked about connected automotive technology ecosystems. And I think that's a really big opportunity, isn't it? So how you connect with your retailers. Just talk a bit about the work.
I think you got a key point here, retention.
Yes.
It's about retention of the current customers. And it goes with the values that we provide, the expertise that we provide, collaborating with our dealers. We mentioned new vehicles also come with new technologies, new equipment, new training. So it's not just about developing Kia today, but also developing the Kia for the future. And also, I'm guessing it's the same for many other OEs across the market. It goes with the mobility, other services. So if I relate this to the after-sales world, so my role at Kia, I do handle anything from marketing communication, CRM activities, but also things like product development, accessory development, and the management of all the different partners like tire brands, batteries, including EV batteries, the full scope about circular economy. It goes with supply of parts, that's one, but also recycling batteries, because this is also the new reality of hybrid and EV vehicles, and being able to develop this and provide all the tools, equipment, support to our dealers and indirectly to our customers is definitely the way that I think not just Kia, but most of the automotive makers should do, because at the end, it drives also competition between us to make sure we all provide the best experience for a customer.
Yeah, it keeps us better. It kind of makes us better if somebody else is doing something that's innovative and exciting. So what are the innovations that, Joris, are really kind of inspiring you at the moment?
I'm someone who really work with data. And it's the access to data for me is primordial. We really need to make sure that when we make strategic decision, when looking at planning ahead, if you ask me, we're planning at and looking at 2026, 2027 already, because that's also the way we want to approach our business, to not just be reactive, but proactive. We still have a gap to close with other industries. I was talking to a few people earlier today. When you consider the automotive industry to the banking industry or airlines, you can do online checking. You can book your flight online. If you buy even a pizza today, you can know exactly, the process and where your pizza is.
Yes.
At the end, this has become a new standard for customers. So when you're looking at interaction and data points and information on retention, meaning the type of parts that you will be selling, the penetration of some products, this is how when we talk to our dealers, see opportunity, we see value, but we also do see revenue and profitability for them.
Yeah.
Because if I can add is, you had vehicles, mostly gasoline vehicles in the past, we're transitioning more and more to EV vehicles. These EV vehicles have a different cycle for maintenance, different cycle for service, which indirectly potentially will have an impact on the profitability factor. So how can we capitalize, optimize our operations with our dealers to make sure that they see not just value, they see the profitability and long-term revenue, and also go through a smooth transition from gasoline to hybrid and EVs.
Yeah, that's a real sort of transition, isn't it? But it's an exciting change. I think you mentioned a couple of things there, that you've got an opportunity to kind of, I suppose, work with consumers as they go through that as a new experience. And how do we learn from those other verticals to bring in the best of those other experiences that are either online or in store, or a combination of everything? And online in store isn't just looking at a screen and talking to someone. You can pick up the phone, you can do so many different things. There are lots of jobs that you do when you're buying, maintaining, changing a vehicle. I think we have to manage all of those touch points with technology. So, Joris, thank you so much for joining me before the panel, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of the event. Anything else that you think we can be excited about coming from Kia?
I'm seeing Kia or even other OEs, as I said earlier, that global ecosystem.
Yeah.
If we want to answer true customer needs, we not just need to adapt and react, we need to be proactive. And if I can say at the end, there is different types of customers. Everybody is unique. Everybody is different. Some people would like to be 100%, digital. Others would like 50-50. Others will probably be more reluctant to change. But at the end, every customer is different. So the role of an OE, also the role of a dealer, is to provide all the different options. So at the end, it's a pick and choose, a la carte type of things for the customer, so they can feel comfortable in the decision rather than having the decision being made on their behalf. And that's probably the key part is, as I said, trying moving forward to have that global ecosystem, one integration, being smooth, and at the end, making sure that you don't lose that also human interaction, because it's not just a product, as I said earlier, it's a service, and service also means people.
It 100% does. I think that's the one thing. You mentioned something as well when we were just chatting outside, global. You said so global and local. You've got to make sure that you deploy whatever it is you're deploying in your local market that reflects the market that you're serving. And it's not just taking a one size fits all, but it's the a la carte approach. Allow the consumer to buy from you the way that they want to buy from you. Joris, thanks again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm now joined by Tim Smith, who's the Chief Strategy Officer for Keyloop. Welcome to my middle podlet, Tim.
Hey, Jax, how are you?
Good, thank you very much. Yeah, good. So listen, we have a number of global events. We're doing a bit of a world tour with Fusion Live launch.
Yep.
You're doing the kind of big reveal on the stage with Adrian. So you've got, Adrian and Tim double act. Just talk about what you're excited about with Canada, because it's a big market launch for us.
Yeah, so traditionally we've had a really great success, building on our rapid business and Certi. But it's now time to join all the dots together. It's that connected journey. It's delivering the automotive retail platform, Fusion, as you like. And it's absolutely fantastic to see as many customers as we've got here today, engaging in the message. And really for myself and Adrian and, a lot of the team to be able to hopefully connect with those customers and explain the whys and hows of how we're going to deliver Fusion into the market.
So for some new, you mentioned automotive retail platform, ARP. So we're almost like bringing a new category to the market. So historically, there's been a lot of disconnection in the automotive retail space, and it should all connect up. So just talk about, the inspiration came from an acquisition that we obviously, when we bought the business that you were running, and it's like, why are we not bringing it all together? Just talk about your role as Chief Strategy Officer and how that's kind of playing out.
How long we got?
10 minutes.
So I think as a whole, automotive retail, everyone knows that they want to reduce the rekeying. There's a lot of great point solutions out there that have sort of accreted or been put into dealerships and distributors and manufacturers over many, many years. Advent of internet has obviously created this digital economy, but it's brought with it an enormous amount of problems. That technology needs to be managed. It needs to be integrated. And when you don't have these real, true proprietary or, full bore integrations, you create friction in the whole process. So we see the operations within the sales, within after sales and parts, within our supply side of things and inventory and buying of vehicles, having to be rekeyed a lot of the time. So it's inefficient. It also creates, I think, friction for consumers because they really do expect to be given all of the information. They're using, vehicles on a day-to-day basis. How does that relate to what my onward journey potentially might be if I want to buy a new vehicle from my retailer? What's the next steps? So we're really just about unlocking that data that sits there, traditionally in islands and silos, and linking that whole journey. So the concept about the automotive retail platform is almost like what the DMS used to be 20, 30 years ago. Kind of pretty much did everything for dealers. Well, we think the ARP, the automotive retail platform, Fusion, delivers that.
Yeah, it's like next gen, isn't it really? So what's really great as well, we've got a number of different domain areas. So we've kind of split the way I choose to describe it was we had this scattergram of applications, and actually we've just kind of we've put them into an order now. So you've got supply, demand, own and operate, which really makes it a lot easier for people to go, oh, actually that makes sense. Data's in the middle, and how we connect it all up through APIs is just what drives everything. But the domain displays are brilliant because it means that you can then hear it in your own language in the market that we're bringing the product to market in, and understand it, and then question the product leads for those domains and kind of really play with the software and see how it works. It's just like we're way beyond slideware now, and we're seeing real software demonstrated by the people that have built it, which has been really sort of successful.
Yeah, so I mean, it's tremendously exciting. I mean, the release of what we call the hubs, which is really bringing the core functionality within those domains. So those 4 domains you mentioned, supply, demand, ownership, and operate, they relate to essentially your sales process and customer data around your sort of demand. Supply is really your inventory management, pricing right, buying right. You've got operate, which really runs the DMS and the invoicing and the actual nuts and bolts of a day-to-day operation in a dealership. Yeah. And then our ownership, which applies to the servicing, the after sales and the parts operations. And if you can bring all those together, you start to automate over the top of that. And we're starting to see agentic, we're starting to see AI, and we're starting to see the promise of automation. That's where the big savings are. That's where we get the efficiencies. That's where, hopefully, the margins start to creep back in a little bit into this really quite very thin margin industry.
It's a tight margin business, isn't it? And we see that, investors and operators within the retail space are running a really tight ship, and actually technology should really drive that efficiency through every single part of their operation, which is what we're now seeing. And we can measure it as well. I think we're seeing how you measure it by reducing waste time on ramps, people having to rekey things, ringing up customers when it should be an automatic update through an application.
That's it.
Yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, when you just see these technologies stacked together and actually flowing through. So if you think, for example, around Sales Hub, what we're doing is we're linking all that demand sort of, we call it clickstream. So all of that internet, all of that digital data, the omni-channel e-commerce sort of web area, that shop window into your organization, all the way through the sales process. But even if you buy a car online, whether you go into a showroom and start the deal face-to-face with a customer through your showroom system, and then they go back home, it's the same piece of technology, it's the same piece of information. And guess what? That information is fed through into retention technology, it's automatically populated into your DMS, we're running the invoicing, the finance on top of it. And guess what? Those service schedules, all of the sort of intervals that are coming in the future, that's linked in. Yeah. And also, when you think about inventory, that vehicle that the customer is driving around, at some point, that's going to hopefully come back into your dealership and you're going to be able to maybe sell it on to the next person. So it's really customer lifecycle value and it is vehicle lifecycle value. And that's what we're really doubling down. And it was interesting. You mentioned outcomes, you mentioned KPIs, you mentioned measurement. We are only building technology that has outcomes. It has to be measurable. We have to see the needle move. Otherwise, what are we doing? Feeds, speeds, leads, features and functions. That's not what we're about. No. Outcomes.
Yeah, that's great. Tim, have a great day. Good luck with the presentation. And I know you're my boss, actually. In real life, you're my actual boss. So yes, it's good. But it's really good, I think, to hear it. Not everyone can come to events. So what we try and do with the podcast is actually capture the essence of the events for those that can't make it in person. And you can still learn and find out what's going on in terms of technology that's coming. So the podcast is about how you unlock the potential of technology. And that's what excites me more than anything, is how you unlock the potential of technology.
Absolutely. And it's just really brilliant. I know what a great job you've been doing with this, but it's the span and scale and the difference in terms of the guests that we've got on, the counterpoints, the pieces of sort of insight and information that they're bringing. I think is fantastic. I just like the fact that we're all in this together, right? Yeah. We're one part of a very big machine in terms of the automotive sector. We are technology for automotive retail, but all of the technology providers, all of the value chain, retailers, distributors, manufacturers, financiers, wholesalers, all of this need to come together to make this hopefully a slightly easier journey in the future. Not just for us, but for customers.
I know, for customers first. I'm joined now by André-Martin Hobbs, who is founder of DecisioningIT, but you're a really established operator in Montreal. So it'd be great just to get a bit about what you do and then what you're here to do today, because you're speaking for us.
Yes, thank you for that. And thank you for the intro. So I've been in the auto tech industry for 25 years, but I also co-own a little group of dealers here in Montreal. So it allows me to be very active in not only owning my own startup, which is called DecisioningIT, which we'll talk about later, but also being an angel investor. So I really am deeply embedded with technology for the past 25 years, as I was saying, and also very interested in new technologies and working with the younger generations to help them structure and build their companies.
Yeah. So it's great because you actually you co-own a retail group.
Correct.
And also you work in the tech space. So I think this is the marriage that we're trying to bring together with how you bring technology into retailers to really improve customer experiences. But on the panel today, you're one of four. You're doing the panel in French. So I'm very grateful you're doing this discussion in English because my French is a bit ropey. So, but just talk a little bit about what you're going to cover on the panel today because you're one of four speakers.
Yeah. So we actually had several choices of subjects. One of which, in my case, is going to be pre-qualification. So financing pre-qualification for consumers and the anxiety in Canada and also in the US of consumers when they are looking at purchasing a vehicle, whether they have good or bad credit. 30% of consumers are anxious about even filling a form on a dealership website because they're not sure they'll get any sort of okay or green light from any lender. So they're worried. And the cost of living is also very expensive, more expensive these days than what it was, inflation and so on. So therefore, the cost of ownership is higher. Consumers are more anxious about even, as I said, applying for credit. So they may even just not apply, not even pass by the dealership or even enter in the dealership because they are worried. Yeah. So pre-qualification actually answers this. It's a need more than just a toy on a dealership website generating leads. There's more than that. Yeah. So here in Canada specifically, 27% of there's been a raise, of 27% of what we call new to credit files, which are consumers that are either new at credit, meaning a younger generation that don't have any credit experience, but also a lot of newcomers. Right. So this means that from a dealer perspective, when you get those consumers walking in your store, it's really hard to get them an approval from any lenders, either on a new or used car. So therefore, it's hard from even a dealership perspective to get those consumers financed.
Yeah. And how regular, because I was at the Canadian Lenders Association event earlier in the year, and we were talking about like the regulation around lending, because that's a really important issue that you make sure that your industry is properly regulated to protect consumers. Yeah. And you mentioned there, André, that you have, say, newcomers, so people that are new to Canada. Yeah. We have the same rules in the UK. If you're new to the UK, you just can't rent a car, you can't hire, you can't do anything, you can't lease something until you've been there long enough. So it's making sure that you have access to the right finance at the right price, that's regulated, that allows retailers to transact with consumers when they, I suppose, come into market. Yep. It's a big issue, isn't it? But I suppose pre-qualification means, does it impact your credit score? If you pre-qualify, it means in the UK, your credit score isn't impacted. You can just get less like your testing if you qualify. Is it the same here?
Great question. So the lingo is important because there's two things actually, or actually three. So first off is what we also call a pre-screen. A pre-screen would be letting the user know, the consumer at the end of it, know if they're prime or non-prime. Pretty much like a screen, right? Just an idea.
I'm good for credit. I'm not good for credit.
Correct. Yeah. So a pre-screen would normally require just a soft inquiry. So a credit report is pulled, but it's called a soft pull. So therefore, it doesn't hurt the consumer's credit history. The trade inquiry is only shown to the user and not to any lender and so on. So it doesn't hurt the score at all. Right. So a pre-screen is that. Now, the next step after is a pre-qualification. And there's multiple types of pre-qualifications when you're in that world, right? Like I am, we get to distinguish the differences. A pre-qualification today would not hurt the consumer's credit score as well, but it would return which lenders the dealership could use and work with to get the consumer approved. It's not just a general idea, it's actually which lenders the consumer can get approved at. And then the third one would be a pre-approval. So there is obviously an approval from lenders, but a pre-approval from a lender will hurt your score, but it will also tell the dealership, hey, such and such lenders will actually release up to $500, $600 per month for that consumer, so you can shop around those that budget.
Right.
So I guess the short answer to your question is, it really depends what type of tool is used. If it's a pre-screen or pre-qualification, it doesn't hurt the consumer's credit report. But if it's more than that, so getting an approval or a pre-approval from a dealership, then it does.
Right.
And even though Equifax, for example, will consider applications within a certain period of time, 30 days, as one, saying that it doesn't hurt the credit report as much. If you're, let's say, shopping for a vehicle, you go to a few dealerships, they all submit your application to lenders for an approval. It will hurt your score, but not as much as what it was several years ago, where it would show an inquiry line, and every inquiry line would hit the score on roughly 2 to 4 points each.
Wow. Okay.
So it could be, that back
if you're
in the
shopping
day.
around not realizing you're going to get a few quotes, and suddenly before you know it, they think you're not a good risk because your credit score has been massively affected just by the fact you're shopping.
Yeah, just by the fact that you're shopping. And it may mean that if, let's say, lender 1 says no, lender 2 says no, when you're lender 3 or 4 and you see those declines, you may think, well, I'm not even going to run the file, because if the other ones have said no, there's a great chance that I'll say no as well.
Yeah.
And there are costs for that. So it depends on also the type of lenders. Something bigger than what I have seen in UK is that we have a lot of subprime and also deep subprime type lenders with much higher interest rates. And they'll take more consumers, right? They'll approve more consumers because obviously they have a higher risk, but this is how they differentiate themselves. So they're buying consumers that are maybe of lesser credit quality, for a higher interest rate. So there is a lot more of that here in Canada than what you have in the UK.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. The other hat that you wear, which I think is really interesting, is this. You're like an angel investor for a number of startups. So, in terms of innovation, what do you see coming that excites you at the moment?
That excites me. Well, obviously, there's a lot around AI. Mind you, there's a lot of small companies that come to us, and they're all pretty much alike, where a younger generation will have started prompting, AI softwares like GPT or any other one, and they'll work on chatbots or any kind of system that would contact consumers in a dealership's database for a new car and so on. So data mining. So there's a lot of those, like dozens that we get to see from an angel perspective. And the difficulty for them is that they don't have access to data. Like, for example, Keyloop would have access to a lot of data coming from their software. The younger ones that are just building a small layer of AI on top of an existing unique dealership, they don't have access to as much data. So therefore, it's not bad, but it is very impressive to see the younger generation using AI and building companies. And I mean, some will succeed, right? So the point is, even if they don't have that data, I think that one thing that I really like is not necessarily the software, but how younger generations are looking at the technology, looking at dealerships, looking at problem, and using that technology to solve those problems. That's really interesting. So AI would be one. Everything surrounding fraud also. It's a big issue in Canada. So fraud being fake consumers applying for vehicles and buying vehicles, and
they came up a lot at the Lenders Association Summit last time I was there, and I didn't realize it was such a massive issue here that you've just got like made up applications, and it's a real risk for a small business. You want to make sure that the customer that's applying for the vehicle and the credit is a real human.
Exactly. So there's a lot of that. Lots of technologies are being worked on presently by many companies for that, to prevent fraud. So that's another point that I like to see. And then making sure that the consumer journey also is now being addressed by technology, because AI does that in a way, but it's not just AI, right? It's also putting it all together so that consumers now get more transparency. Consumers can buy the way they want, when they want, finance online if they need to, get car insurance online. All of that kind of existed, but now it's being put together, and that's what I like right now.
That is really exciting.
Yeah.
André-Martin, thank you so much for taking
welcome.
time out. I know you're going to go and do the panel shortly,
Yep.
so it was really great to spend some time with you.
Yeah,
I just
same here.
downloaded what you're going to be talking about. So
Yep.
that was André-Martin Hobbs from DecisioningIT joining us on the podcast here in Montreal. Thanks again.
Thanks so much.
So that was part one of the Fusion Live event from Montreal. Thanks again to all of the guests that came to speak to me at the event. Don't forget, if you're watching us on YouTube, give us a like, follow and subscribe, and you'll never miss an episode of the Drivetime podcast. Stay tuned next week. We've got part 2 with more of those great guests.